Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Friday, December 25th, 2020. Merry Christmas. Today we're going to be talking about why Santa Claus and Joe Manchin, as his vice presidential nominee, could actually win the 2020 election against Donald Trump. So we all know that the election is over, and Joe Biden won with 306 electoral votes. But I have no doubt in my mind that Santa Claus would have performed better than the Biden-Harris ticket in the 2020 election. I know it may seem far-fetched, but based off last year's approval rating of Santa Claus moving into this year, I see no drastic difference, especially since Santa Claus has been immune to COVID-19, so he never contracted it, unlike President Trump. So that's something that he definitely has going for him. And also, last year when we talked about the potential outreach of Santa Claus as a candidate, it seemed as if he wasn't able to really appeal to the regions of the country, such as West Virginia or Kentucky, where coal was a very large export. It was a major staple of a number of these states. Usually you would think about coal when you talked about some of these states, but choosing Joe Manchin as a vice presidential nominee pick is probably one of the best and most masterful political moves we've seen in the entire century. So let's go ahead and get right into this map. It shouldn't be too surprising that Santa Claus is now running under a third party called the Snow Party. He is no longer affiliated with the Democratic Party after they refused to secede from the rest of the Sun Belt, because when Santa Claus and a bunch of other snowmen go down there, they typically don't like it because it's not nearly as similar as the cold temperatures of Minnesota or North Dakota. So based off the entire northern region of Canada, I truly believe that this is going to be a region of the country where Santa Claus has a very large outpour of support. We're talking safe margins across the entire northern border. And that's an immediate 118 electoral votes. That covers the entire competitive Rust Belt part, which is honestly very fascinating that Santa Claus already has such a strong outreach. Really, just any part of the country that touches Canada is able to go this solidly for one candidate. We've never seen this actually happen in American history, where every single state across the northern border voted for one candidate, except for, I believe, one time, and that was 1972. So overall, Santa Claus starts out with an initial 118 electoral votes, along with Joe Manchin, who would actually be one of the first vice presidents from a state that represents the exact opposite interest of the top candidate. So 118 electoral votes, 0 for Donald Trump right now. Let's go ahead and get into some of the states where Santa Claus could actually have some very solid ground. I really don't think it's too far-fetched to say that the support from the even maybe not super northern, but still northern enough regions of the country where Santa Claus could actually have some very large pockets of support, especially among suburban voters. I mean, everyone grows up with the idea of Santa Claus in their brain, and a lot of people do believe up until a certain point. But he's sort of reinstilled this faith in America that we never really saw before. Actually showing up to the debates has really helped him, especially since we've actually seen him just this election season visit every single state, and also every single country. I find it very interesting that he's able to do so. Delivering 7 billion gifts internationally really shows he has the foreign policy experience. He is someone who is appreciated not only in America, but also in neighboring Canada and Mexico, and also in other areas of the world where America isn't exactly as popular. North Korea, we're talking Russia. So these are regions of the country where Santa Claus really has personal connections to, as he does to numerous other countries, which really helps with his foreign policy experience, which only backs up the support that he's received from a lot of these voters across the northern region and also many regions across the Sun Belt. Donald Trump really tried to attack Santa Claus, saying that he was only good for one day of the year, but realistically, that doesn't necessarily work with a lot of voters. When we talk about acting naughty or nice in preparation for Santa, that's not just a once-in-a-year type thing. That is something that goes on for 2 to 3 months leading up till Christmas season. And plenty of parents, specifically those in the suburbs and urban and rural regions of the country, overall, that's something that has really resonated with a lot of them because it's a very universal feeling and a very universal and well-known name across the country. He's a household name. I think Santa Claus has a very easy way to winning this election. I have no doubt that he would win across Oregon and Wyoming and South Dakota, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. But unfortunately for him, Donald Trump has made some grounds up in the Northeast. Now, I know that's pretty surprising, but you also have to realize that Santa Claus had a bit of a scandal earlier on. When he talked about how he prefers his cookies from the western region of the United States, that did not fly too well in Massachusetts or Connecticut, or Rhode Island. When you leave out your plate of cookies for Santa, you're assuming that he's going to eat them. But chances are he's probably just carrying them home to feed his elves. And that probably didn't work too well, especially amongst the more northeastern region of the country. An area of the country that's very big on stability, a very big area on non-waste products. So I don't really think that was something that a lot of the people in the Northeast really wanted to hear, enough so that they were inclined to vote for Donald Trump over Santa Claus as a candidate. But overall, the majority of the population there votes for him by a likely margin, which is just enough, to get that entire region in one area. And also, the Democratic Party across numerous states has also endorsed Santa Claus. They say that Donald Trump wants to get rid of the North Pole through inaction in terms of climate change. And Santa Claus also has taken that effect. He started to push the idea that climate change is hurting the North Pole, that it's getting rid of the land that Santa Claus needs in order to deliver all of these gifts. And I really think that's a message that also works, because when your gifts at Christmas time or really any other time of the country, the December time period, if you celebrate a major December holiday, not even Christmas, you may be personally affected by climate change in one way or another. And he really tried to reiterate that point, that even if you aren't necessarily someone who would celebrate Santa Claus or celebrate Christmas, that he is still someone who is going to fight for climate action. And that's something that has really worked well with a lot of Americans across this country. So overall, he's received an overwhelming amount of support from those in the Democratic Party, enough so that he is going to win a number of those Democratic states from 2016. Now, Hawaii might be a little bit closer just because of how warm the entire state is. It's not so easy for Santa Claus to visit so often. It's probably one of the least visited states, but all in all, I would say that that's still a region of the country that Santa Claus still has a very strong grip in, enough so that he wins their 4 electoral votes by very solid amounts. Now, Donald Trump, I think, has the ability to win in certain states. Originally, I would have said West Virginia and Kentucky. For right now, I'm only going to characterize the state of Kentucky, but only very narrowly for Donald Trump. I think choosing Joe Manchin as a candidate did make the state more competitive in favor of Santa Claus, enough so that he would win it by a likely margin before I had it in the Trump column back in 2019. So things definitely do change based off the vice presidential nomination. Things absolutely change. Amongst Nebraska's 2nd district, we've actually seen the exact opposite of what we've seen around the country. For whatever reason, Omaha does not like Santa Claus. I don't know what it is, but preliminary election data has been telling us that Donald Trump is going to win there by a very solid amount. But actually, let me show you the final national poll that we've actually seen this election cycle, where Santa Claus receives 67% of the national vote. Now, Donald Trump's campaign has said that this poll was flawed due to a very small sample size, but honestly, I don't really see it. It's well within the margin of error, and Santa Claus winning with 67% of the vote isn't too shocking, given his approval rating at 80% nationwide. So Donald Trump is getting some of those voters who approve of Santa Claus as a candidate, but also Santa Claus is absolutely obliterating Donald Trump, and that makes sense. Santa Claus has the appeal to Democrats, Republicans, independents, libertarians, Greens, whoever it might be. He's able to win over a lot of them, and that's no, blanket title. Everyone can resonate with that, unless you're a part of the very hot regions of the South, where, to be honest, I feel bad because snow is not that bad. So this is the final national poll. Santa Claus expected to win in a landslide, and that's exactly what we're going to see. He's going to do very well in states such as Texas and Arizona, but honestly, I don't know how well this outreach of support is going to move down into a state such as Utah. I'd like to say because of its mountains and its well-known ski slopes that Utah would be a state where Santa Claus could actually have some very large support. But due to its overwhelming Mormon population, they have also shunned away from some of the more non-traditional values of Santa Claus. Santa Claus is very similar to Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Bernie Sanders in terms of policy. And that's not necessarily the winning strategy in a state such as Utah. That's not necessarily the winning platform for a candidate in Utah. And I do think that regional support, that regional advantage that Santa Claus offers is enough to narrow down a win for Donald Trump in Utah. But I'm actually going to go out on a limb and say Donald Trump wins the state of Utah by a tilt margin. It's a region of the country, a red island of this entire western part of the United States, which I find fascinating. Don't even get me started on why Alaska would be solid for the Santa Party. You don't even need to ask. That's very obvious in my answer. But overall, this leaves a very peculiar region of the country where typically snow doesn't come down, where typically you wouldn't hear so much about Santa Claus and Joe Manchin as candidates. You mainly hear about them. But also, this is the Bible Belt. This is a very, Christian environment, very Catholic environment where you would actually see Santa Claus be one of the most popular candidates. However, like I had mentioned in Utah, he doesn't exactly have the traditional values that have been qualities found in winning candidates across this region. I have no doubt that Santa Claus would win Georgia or Florida or North Carolina, given the swing state status of these states. However, I do think that it's going to be more difficult to win in other regions of the country. I think he will win based off of the support from religious groups across these states, but it wouldn't be by super large margins. I think it'll be lean margins, maybe a likely margin in Tennessee just for fun. But South Carolina and Missouri are probably going to be tilt margins for Santa Claus, just because, I want to. So those 19 electoral votes are tilt for Santa Claus. And honestly, I don't find that too surprising. When you think about South Carolina as a state, you wouldn't automatically think of Santa Claus. But when you talk about the state's initials, SC, what does that remind you of? They share the same initials as Santa Claus. And, with Joe Manchin on the ticket, I think it's enough to persuade a lot of those voters. When you're looking at this state, we've seen a major push from Democrats to actually win a state such as South Carolina. It's been very difficult. Lindsey Graham has been a very big proponent of Donald Trump, saying that Santa Claus didn't give him a gift when he was 7 years old, with that personal vendetta as the main factor as to why he isn't supporting him in his election bid. And in Missouri, Josh Hawley, also someone who said that he didn't necessarily receive the same gift that he wanted. Back in 2019, he would have supported him, but he didn't get the gift that he wanted. So when you're looking at both of these states, endorsements really do matter, but sometimes they aren't everything. And that actually leaves Santa Claus with a final map doing even better than where he was a year ago, which I find fascinating, because last year he did very, very well. But I think this pick with Joe Manchin as a candidate and Donald Trump's scandals really plaguing the 2020 election, quite literally, we are looking at a winning ticket with Santa Claus and Joe Manchin becoming the next administration in the White House. So overall, Santa Claus wins with 523 electoral votes, Donald Trump with just 15, due to his support amongst traditional groups and also coal regions, which isn't exactly something that was completely finished with the Joe Manchin nomination, but overall doing better than where they were a year ago. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch, and then a playlist for my post-2020 election videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.